It just takes a simple act of kindness to make a world of difference. What will you do? Kind is better. A message brought to you by K2, Live 95.5 and your Northwest Honda dealers.
All right, thanks for watching Afternoon Live on this Kind is Better day. News of violence and shootings can cause major amounts of stress and anxiety for our youth. Well, our next guest says there are ways to stop the violence. Here to help us and tell us more, we welcome the founder of 5 Radical Minutes, Cheri Lovre is with us. Cheri, welcome.
Thank you.
So before we get into the 5 Radical Minutes, I would love for you to share a little bit about your background and tell us about this passion that you have for our youth.
You know, it wasn't anything I ever decided to do, but doors kept opening, and so I went from doing grief groups for kids to, as an educator and a behavioral specialist, training crisis response teams in schools.
Wow.
And so that started in the 80s, and that was mostly just around the Northwest. And then in the 90s, I started paying attention to how many school shootings were happening and realized that we really needed to prepare schools for how to lock down, how to do all those things. And then as I was writing that book and finishing that part, was the first time that a school shooting happened that I was asked to respond to, and that was Thurston High School here in Oregon. And so that started me off on a new track. I learned not just what happens in the moment, but how long the recovery is. I still have friends from Columbine. I still have friends I talk to. They're all retired now.
Right.
But from the many times I've been in from these shootings, I now see the long term about what happens over time for kids and adults who are in those settings.
Well, trauma is very real.
It's very real.
And it changes your brain. I don't think people understand that, especially in our youth.
Yes.
They're developing brains. And so when something
It's
like that
huge.
happens, it definitely triggers a change. And so we don't think about it because we hear so many shootings over and over these days in the schools that I'm starting to, feel like here we, here we go again.
Yeah. And I think the thing that's really true that we have to keep in mind is that really the number of students who die in school shootings is so small compared to the number that die of gun-related incidents in other places. It's just that when it's in a school, it tends to be mass casualty and it tends to grab a headline. So the 11 or 12 kids that died in other, one at a time in other places, that doesn't make the news.
Right. Well, I know we don't have 5 whole minutes, but I want you to tell me anyway about the 5 Radical Minutes, because I'm very interested in hearing about this.
Because of responding to so many school shootings, a part of what happened for me about 8 years ago was really, with all the research that we had, seeing that there were very clear trends that we could begin to address with kids, but that in order for kids, well, what we know is that most school shooters are suicidal, and that isolation and depression, and we can kind of identify those things that bring those kids to feel separate enough from others to be able to do something like that. So about 8 years ago, I decided I needed to really, really focus on a program that would do that. And so 5 Radical Minutes is a program that happens in schools. It can happen in homes. It can happen in foster homes. We have after-school program. We have the summer camp. So we have several different iterations of it. But basically, it's that for the school program, every student, every day they're in school, connects with another student in a meaningful way, building trust first, then building compassion. And so it builds on itself for 12 years so that kids have the skills and the moral compass from a very early time to have less impulsive need to anonymously bash another kid online.
Right. And then some, and stop hopefully some of the worse tragedies that can happen, right? So what is it? Is it 5 meaningful minutes?
It's 5 Radical Minutes where what happens is, for 2 minutes, if I'm partnered with you and we're both students, for 2 minutes I only listen to your story about whatever the prompt is, which might be, tell me about an act of kindness that you saw at school. And I only listen to your story, you only listen to mine, and then for the last 1 minute, it's what did our stories have in common? And then we build from there to, I may self-disclose a time I know I hurt someone's feelings.
Oh.
And you do the same, and then we talk about that, so that what we're always doing is building. We talk about depression. We don't label it as depression, but what are your ideas for what a student can do when someone has trouble getting to sleep at night because they feel sadder than sad? What are your ideas? What are my ideas? And then we post all of those. So now you gain 52 new ideas. If you're the depressed student, you gain 52 new ideas, because that was our activity, and that's just one 5-minute activity. So I'm hoping that by having 5 minutes of a child's life every day that they're in school, from kindergarten through grade 12, it can change that moral compass.
I love this.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Thank you.
And the key word, you said compassion.
Yeah.
That is like
It's at the base.
so necessary. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
5 radical minutes. We need more. Thank you. Okay, for more information and a complete resource center with mental health contacts, just head to kindisbetter.org. We will be right back with more Afternoon Live on this Kind is Better Day. Stay right there.
Thank you.